Hello friends, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be reviewing a new eyeshadow palette, new to the market. Well, it released I think 2 or 3 weeks ago, but it is a new brand to me. That palette and brand is the Be Mine palette from Sydney Grace. This is my first time trying out Sydney Grace products in general, namely their eyeshadow formula, and I'm really excited to talk about it with you guys today. As you can see, I already have my makeup done. This eye look I created using the palette, so stick around for the demo. I'm going to walk you guys through how I created it in a minute. So let's get into a bit more detail in regards to the Be Mine palette. So like I said, this palette came out a couple weeks ago, beginning of February, and I believe it was their Valentine's Day launch. They actually came out with two palettes. It was a light version and a deep or dark version of the same palette, which I found pretty interesting, pretty unique, because I don't think I've seen any other brand do that. And basically the colors are for the most part the same in the two palettes, just some of them are deeper, darker in the deep dark palette compared to the light one. That was done in efforts to be more inclusive and have the shades work for a wider variety of skin tones. So I thought that was really great. Sydney Grace does also offer, aside from palettes, single shadows, loose pigments, and loose glitters and other products. So I'll leave their website in the description box if you guys are interested in checking them out. They are also cruelty free, and specifically this palette, I made sure to check the ingredients of all the shades in this palette before I bought it, because as you know, we are carmine free on this channel. I have the carmine allergy, and if any shadow has carmine in it, I cannot use. And luckily for me, none of the shades in this palette have carmine, which is a major plus because this palette has a bunch of purpley tones, and purple eyeshadow is one of my favorite colors. Next to green, those are my two favorites, and usually purple tones tend to have carmine in it, so I'm really excited about that. I was heavily influenced to pick up this palette by Makeup by Diana on Instagram. She talked about it multiple times. She created several looks using it, and honestly, all her looks looked gorgeous, and so I went ahead and pulled the plug to pick it up. I've been wanting to check out Sydney Grace for a while, but looks like this was the palette that did it. So this palette includes 15 shades. Again, this is the light version. So we have 15 shades that include matte, shimmers, and metallics. It is $52. And in this palette, all the shades are the same in the light versus the deep or dark palette, except Smooch, All Mine, Love Me, Flirty, Soulmates, and Darling. So those shades, those 6 shades are deeper toned in the deep palette compared to this one. Today's video or today's review on this palette is not a first impression. Since I received my palette in the mail, I have used this 4 times counting today, and so that might be a hint as to how I feel about it. I'm going to go ahead and insert some swatches of the eyeshadows in this palette row by row so you guys can get an idea. Starting with the first row, we have Smooch, All Mine, Baby Cakes, Love Me, and Romance. The second row, we have Flirty, Soulmates, Darling, Pucker Up, and Cupid. And the last row, we have Crush on You, Eye Candy, I Love You, Smitten, and last but not least, My Person. So there you have the swatches. Now let's get into the demo of how I created this eye look, and then we will come back and talk about my final thoughts. So let's get into the Sydney Grace Be Mine palette. Again, I have mine in the light. They do have a light and dark option of this palette. Full disclosure, this is not a first impressions. I have used this palette 3 times since I received it last week, I believe, and honestly, I've been super impressed and really loving every single look that I created with it. I'm not quite sure what way I want to go with these shades. We can either do a pinky purple look, we could do a more neutral look, or we can do a deeper glam. I think I might stick to either the neutrals or the pinks just for today. And then maybe we can do another look with the deeper, more sultry shades another day. So let me know in the comments below if you guys want to see that. I am going to be going in with some eyeshadow primer. This is the Urban Decay Eyeshadow Primer Potion. This is an OG. The one I have is the anti-aging, so not the original, but honestly, they perform, I feel like, the exact same. So I'm just going to go in with a little bit on each lid, and I like to blend that in with my finger. And when you're using an eyeshadow primer, at least for me, because I tend to have oily lids, I really like to make sure I get right in here and bring it up to my crease as well. A little bit past my crease, almost to the brow bone. Same with the other eye. For today, since we have the burgundy going on, purple earrings, let's go ahead and go in with the pink tone shades. So I'm gonna start off with a brush that has become like one of my favorite brushes, and I use this brush for entire looks, just using one brush. And this is the Rose & Ben Beauty E28. So it's this guy right here. The past couple eyeshadow looks, I've been using this brush almost exclusively, just wiping it down in between shades. So if you haven't checked out the Rose & Ben brushes, I highly suggest you do so. So to start off, I'm going to go in with this shade right here. I believe it's called Darling. And I'm going to take that on the side of the brush. And you can see how much I picked up right there. And I'm going to put this right above my crease. So right about here. There you go. And I'm just going to pat it in to blend the shade. Look at how pigment that is. It's so pretty. And it's pretty true to the shade in the pan as well. So I'm just tapping that in, and I'm also kind of bringing it out this way. I do enjoy a more cat eye shape with my eyeshadow, so I always, well, almost always kind of bring it up this way. And as you tap that in, you'll see that shade diffuse. And look at how beautifully the shade is blending out. And just for reference, I have used this palette also without any eyeshadow primer, just right on top of the concealer that I use a very, very light layer to kind of cancel out my veins on my eyelids, and it worked just as well. I have, again, oily lids, so primers are almost always a must for me. So I'm going to pick up just a tiny bit more, just so I can start feathering it out this way. And I'm going to start dragging some of that shade into the crease on the top of the lid. And do the same thing on the other side. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to wipe off my brush, and I'm just wiping it off on a dry makeup eraser just to get whatever leftover pigment on there. And I'm going to dip into this lighter pink shade called Soulmates. And again, I'm going to go on the side of the brush. There we go. Might have picked up a little bit too much. And what I'm going to do with this shade is I'm going to tap over right above this line right here to help blend that line and also give me a bit of a gradient of color. So this shade is not going to show up very much, but it's just so we can blend out that line just a bit. Okay, just a tad. We didn't need too much. Again, wiping off the brush, and then we are going to go into, and I'm still using the same Rose & Ben brush, guys. We're going to go into, we're going to stick within the pink and mauve tone. So I'm going to go into this shade right here, pucker up. And with this same brush, I'm actually going to dip straight into it. So this way, if you guys can see that. And Because my eyes are slightly hooded, what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to go straight in with my eyes open and relaxed and just stick this right into my crease and kind of stamp it in there. And this is going to give me some depth and definition. So there you go. See, if I open, it's kind of all over the place, but that's okay because we're just going to keep stamping to blend that into the crease and kind of this outer corner. And if you have hooded eyes like mine that are slightly hooded and haven't tried this technique, give it a shot. Instead of using like a bigger fluffy brush, so instead of using something like maybe like this, so you can see the difference in these two brushes. This guy can get everywhere, can get maybe a little bit out of control. So if you find yourself struggling with your eyeshadow applications in that way, maybe try a smaller brush and something that's not as fluffy and wide. Okay, so here we go. You can see the definition in this eye compared to this one. So again, I just press it right into my crease, my natural fold, stamped it out, and brought some down here on this outer corner, and then with whatever was left on the brush, I lightly dragged it towards the inner corner, not all the way, maybe about 3/4 of the way, about stopping here, and just to blend that out. So here we have it so far, and at this point I do want to point out that these shadows are blending into each other beautifully. There's no patchiness, there's no skipping, and even on this eye here where sometimes I have eyeshadows cling to like this weird patch that I have and it becomes uneven, or like kind of like a bald spot. Kind of like a bald spot. I have none of that here. It's just blending over gorgeously, and look how pigmented it is. I mean, obviously, yes, we do have the eyeshadow primer laid down, but that primer doesn't really have a base. It's almost transparent. So let's give credit where it's due. The next shade we are gonna go into this deep, rich brown shade right here, Romance. We could also do black, and this I'm wanting to place on the outer corner, just the very outer corner to deepen it up, but I think I want to keep it just a bit softer, so I'm going to go in with Romance. And for that, I could just keep using this Rose and Ben brush, but let's use something else just to give you guys more variety. So this is an Alamar Cosmetics brush. I think this is from their Ojitos Volume 2 set. This is what it looks like, and it is a bigger brush, but I'm not going to pick up too much. So into Romance, again, I'm going to pick it up on the side of the brush. So there you go, and we're gonna stamp this right on the outer edge, outer corner of the eye. And notice I'm stamping and not windshield wipers, so see, it's right where I want it placed. And I am holding my brush at a bit of an angle to keep with that kind of cat eye shape that I'm going for. So this outer corner and right on the lash line, so it's almost gonna seem like kind of like an eyeliner type. And just tapping it into that darker purple shade that we applied Pucker Up. So just a little bit, not too much. Same thing on the other eye. All right, so much for not going for a sultry look. Look how pretty this blend is. Another thing to note, I do have my entire face pretty much done of makeup. I have my concealer done and my under eye is set, and there is absolutely no fallout with any of these shades. We've dipped into two more pigmented darker shades, Pucker Up, that deep burgundy purple, and also Romance, the shade we just used. And so there is no fallout. Do keep in mind that the way I'm applying these shadows is more of a patting motion, and I'm not packing a whole lot on the brush and going in, so that could contribute. But overall, even in the pan, I'm not seeing a ton of kick up, so there is a little bit on the shade right here, Pucker Up, but other than that, the other shades that we've used, they've been fine. So in terms of the lid shade, there is a couple of these kind of shimmer shimmer metallics that I am considering. So first off is this one right here, Flirty, which is a really pretty bright shade. Second of all, we could go into this one, Smooch, which is right there. I think I'd actually rather use this as an inner corner highlight. And then we have this really deep purple and this one right here. Let's swatch this one. This one is Cupid. So that's Cupid right there on my ring finger. I think I actually want to go in with Cupid. I haven't used that shade yet. So let's go in, just wiping it off on my fingers here using a makeup wipe. So let's go in with Cupid, and I'm actually just gonna go straight in with my finger. We're gonna get some on there. I went maybe 2 or 3 rounds about, and I'm gonna press and pull. Look at that, so pretty. Oh, this shade is so pretty. Look at that. I'm obsessed. And you guys also know that I love purple eyeshadow. Not to mention, this palette does not have carmine, so major win for me. Dang, I should have done this as like a Valentine's Day eyeshadow look. Okay, to help me get as close as I possibly can to my inner corner, I'm going to use this other Rose and Ben brush. This is the E27, and it has this really great shape. And I'm going to dip into that, and the tip of this brush really helps me get right in here, which is hard to do with your finger. I have pretty, well, I guess average, but bigger fingers that I can't really get in there, and my nails are not helping. So it helps me get into that little corner and also kind of even out this line here to even out the shade, and that way it's still popping out a little bit for those of us with hooded eyes. Gonna do the same thing on the other side. I think I do want to deepen my outer corners just a little bit. So dipping back into Romance and just patting right over where that purple shade meets the dark outer corner area. Keep in mind, guys, this shimmer shade is, I applied that dry. So I did use a wipe to wipe down my finger, but it completely dried before I went in with the purple shade. Okay, let's just keep going. I'm wiping off that E27 Rose and Ben brush because I am also going to use this as an inner corner. For the inner corner, I'm going to step into Flirty, which is this lighter pink shimmer shade. I was going to use Smooch, but I think Flirty will look better. So we're going to take it on the brush. And I'm just going to press it right in my inner corner. Again, this is dry. There we go. I'm also going to bring it up just a little bit to help widen my eye shape. So far we've used, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We've used this entire row of mauve pinky shades and this shade right here, Romance. Let's dip into this black shade as well. This is called My Person, and we are going to use that as our shadow liner. So I'm going to take an small angled brush. This is a Sigma E65. This is it right here. It's pretty thin. And I'm going to use that just to line my upper lash line. So I'm going to dip straight in and get it as close as I possibly can to my lash line. Just to give me more emphasis. This is also a great technique to cover up the gap that sometimes we can get between our natural lash line and the lashes. I'm not going to wear falsies today, but either or, this gives us a really nice definition compared to this side. And there we have it. So I'm going to go ahead and finish up the rest of my makeup, do my mascara and my lower lash line, and then we'll be back to talk about my final thoughts. And we are back with the completed look. Like I said, I went ahead and did my mascara, my under eye, my lower lash line, and added this nude glossy lip that I think complements the pops of colors or the deep tones of the eyeshadows really well. I went for a more clumpy mascara just because I wasn't wearing falsies to kind of give me more drama. And I did end up poking myself in the eye. So if you see any dark spots down here, that is not the eyeshadow, that is the mascara. All right, so final thoughts on the Sydney Grace Be Mine palette. For this being my first exposure to Sydney Grace in general, I am pleasantly surprised. I really enjoyed using this palette. The shades blended beautifully. I think for their price, even though this is a $52 palette and it's up there in price, the quality is amazing. Like I mentioned earlier, I've already used it 3 times prior to today, and those 3 times I didn't go as bold or as dark as I went today. So being able to create this really beautiful, bold, deep purple, sultry look is honestly giving me life right now. I've had this on for, I would say, about an hour, maybe a little bit less than an hour or so, and in terms of how it's holding up, there is no creasing, no bald patches or anything like that. We did use an eye primer. Again, I have oily eyelids, so without an eye primer, this would have been all over the place within half an hour or so. So that is a must for me personally. If you haven't had the opportunity to try Sydney Grace palettes and have been interested, I highly recommend picking up this palette. It is still available on their website. Again, they have it in the light and dark options. I'm more of a light to medium skin tone. And when I originally saw the 2 options, to be honest, I was leaning towards going for the dark palette or the deep palette versus the light. But I did see Makeup by Deanna on Instagram try her palette, and she had the light version, and the shades seemed to show up. The shades were showing up really great on her skin tone, and I feel like she's a bit deeper skin tone. She's more medium compared to me, so that's where I decided to go with the light palette. Let me know what you guys think of the eye look below, and if you guys have tried Sydney Grace's eyeshadow formula and what you guys think. Also, let me know if you guys want me to create more eye looks using this palette. I feel really inspired by it and would be more than happy to create another look. If you guys are new here, welcome to my channel. My name is Layla. Thank you for checking out this video. Make sure to hit subscribe and like this video before you leave. And if you are a returning viewer, welcome back. Stay tuned for my next video. Again, I do upload weekly, usually on Tuesdays, if not on a Thursday. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.